Hello Internet, Taliesin here, and today we are talking healing, and we are talking 8.3 Visions of Ny'alotha, which, depending on your point of view, is either the long-awaited rise of our tentacly overlord who will guide us all to slithery salvation and hentai glory, or the evil old god that will have to be defeated or it's the end of the world or whatever. But yeah, either way, I know old gods in BFA, I am just as surprised as you are, and either way, there's going to need to be some healing going on. And since the last healer class guide that we put out on this channel was before BFA even released, it's time for us to take another look at the role which is basically the Kathleen Kennedy of WoW group content. No one else really knows the precise details of what they do exactly, but you can bet if anything goes wrong, then it's going to be their fault. This is your fault, Kathleen, Mistweaver monk. Now, of course, we could start and end this video just by stating the obvious and letting you all get on with your day. The best, most effective healer of 8.3 is the Blood Death Knight. Thanks for coming, see you all in Shadowlands. But what if you're one of those healers that doesn't play Death Knight? What class balance changes will we see going into the next patch? What are the strengths and weaknesses of each class in Raid and Mythic Plus? Which is the most fun? Which is best suited to the new fights? Who has the best numbers? And more besides. So join us as we rank the healers in 8.3, okay? Go, 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 go. I know. To regular viewers of this channel, this ranking is about as surprising as Greta Thunberg's skipping class. But really, when it comes to flat-out fun while healing in World of Warcraft, I don't think I'm exactly in a minority when I say Discipline Priest is not only the most balls-out, enjoyable healing class in BFA, with its atonement dealing damage to heal your buds mechanic being more engaging than Captain Picard working at a jeweler's with his fiancée, as well as being a full floor higher than other healers in terms of skill ceiling. I would go further. I would say, in terms of game design, this spec is so exquisite that it may be the most fun you'll have pressing buttons in BFA, full stop. As well as being the funnest healing spec that WoW has ever seen. It's just really fun, okay? And look, maybe you're a proper old school healer and the disc DPS style makes it the class equivalent of cats. It horrifies you that much, and I get that. But think on this, Discipline Priest is super powerful in raids too, and I know you like it when you're super powerful in raids. I know you find that fun, you dirty little minx. Discipline found itself in the S tier for Eternal Palace because it had good bursty throughput on short cooldowns, terrific passive DPS, as in the DPS happens naturally as a part of your rotation. You don't have to consciously stop healing to do it. And most important of all, a big bad damage absorption ability in Barrier. Now that is a lot of tools in its kit for high-end raiding right there, so how does that hold up in Ny'alotha? Well, 8.3 sees not unsubstantial nerfs to discipline damage, which of course also translates into not insubstantial nerfs to discipline healing, because damage is how they do their healing. A mechanic which is really fun, by the way, I don't know if I mentioned that. As well as a reduction in Atonement's overall effectiveness, so you'd expect to see a fair old drop in overall disc throughput in the new Raid and Mythic Plus. That's the bad news. The good news is, well, they are still basically S tier for high-end raiding. Because of that lovely barrier, you really can't overstate the importance of raid-wide damage absorption in top-level play. So basically, I'd be very surprised if any Mythic guild worth its salt didn't include at least one Discipline Priest in its ranks. Discipline's weakness is, as usual, Mythic Plus, where its preemptive style makes it tricky to keep up with some unexpected spot heals, and Grievous will continue to be the officially sanctioned National Disco Holiday Week. But as with all healers on this list, that only really starts to be a problem on keys over plus 15. Anything lower is easily doable by any spec, so don't worry too much about that, just concentrate on enjoying the most funnest spec in the game, Disco, which is as fun as an actual disco. Yeah, I went there, that's what I did. You know, I always feel like WoW is a better game when Shaman are doing well, because any opportunity to have a raid full of watery, earthy, lavery, lightningy fireworks is just always going to be better, isn't it? I mean, look at this stuff. Oh, look, that's awesome. Oh, shit, did you see that? Shit. Shaman are basically all 5 of the Planeteers combined, except for Heart, obviously, but who cares, because he was the rubbish one anyway. So it gives me great pleasure to say, rejoice, Shaman healers, because Restoration is looking to be a really strong choice in 8.3. Their throughput is right up there with the best of them, as usual, really excelling when players are grouped up and bunched together thanks to that high tide chain heal combo and healing rain, which combined with the fact that they are part of a very select group of healers that can effectively counter big unexpected group damage, means it's very easy to identify Resto's Mythic Plus charms, especially as the possible increase in Death Knight tanks in Season 4 could see their pretty mediocre tank healing being much less of an issue than it has been previously in this expansion. But fam, I want to talk about raiding, because Shaman is set to be the dark horse in Ny'alotha, where it's looking more and more worthy of a mythic spot. Partly due to those big numbers, partly because they are more flexible than my New Year's vegetarian diet resolution. Look, steak is basically a vegetable, okay? I mean, cows only eat grass, right? Resto has an answer for nearly any question you can throw at it. In a relatively low healing fight, spec Echo of Elements and load up on Igneous Potential and put in some proper good DPS. Need to get your group around one of those massive Ny'alotha boss rooms quickly and efficiently? There's a totem for that. Need to drop arguably the single best healing cooldown in the game? There's a totem for that. Need a tasty AoE snare on a short cooldown? There's a totem for that. And really, who else gives you that? I mean, bear tanks, I guess, but here's a little secret, don't tell anyone. There aren't going to be many bear tanks in Mythic raids. Need to bypass the effects of insanity in the 2 N'Zoth fight? A mechanic which is, you know, quite an important mechanic? There's a totem for that. At least during the PTR, Tremor Totem appeared to break insanity effects in normal and heroic difficulties. We are yet to see if that translates over to live, because honestly, it is quite an important mechanic. The ability that Resto gives groups to recover from mistakes is just a really nice thing to have in a progressive raid environment, and I wouldn't be surprised to see Shaman being way more popular in Mythic compositions than many are expecting, which is good news because A, it's a really cool spec to play, and B, there are going to be a lot of Vulpera Shaman in 8.3, and who doesn't want a raid full of Vulpera Shaman? It's a win-win. Since Legion's big redesigns, it's been tough being a holy priest, not because there's anything wrong with the spec, far from it in fact, as we'll see, but because it's currently the priest spec which isn't discipline, and you all know how I feel about discipline. In fact, for the longest time, I ignored and neglected holy in any kind of content, but you know what? I am willing to hold up my hands and admit that I have been unduly hard on holy, and in recent weeks, I've seen the light, because this is truly a cracking healing spec. It is as close to a classic healer as I think WoW has, and though I don't mean classic, I mean a Holy Priest is the Soldier 76 of WoW heals. It's got all the tools that you'd expect of a healer, delivered in the straightforward, no-nonsense style that you'd imagine. It feels like the first healing spec the devs designed, and that's exactly what I think Holy should be, and the reason why it's the healer I will always recommend to players trying the role for the first time. Like calculus or eating the rich, it just makes sense, you know? But that's not to say it's boring. Oh, no, because the truth is, Holy is also a big old ton of fun. In fact, since this video does have ranked in the title, why not? I'd actually place it 3rd in the official fun time healer of joy button pressing charts that I've just invented, below only Paladin and, I can't remember the other one now. Using your small single target in AoE heals to reduce the cooldowns on your big single target in AoE heals is an incredibly engaging and satisfying way to keep the group topped up, but it's also a really effective way, because here is the unspoken truth about Holy Priest. It does arguably the best pure effective healing in the game. In a raid environment, Holy can put out some stupid high numbers with very little overhealing. So obviously all the Mythic World First guilds are just going to be chock full of Holy Priests, right? No. Because of course at the very top level, numbers are nice and all, but there are more important things going on. Like, does Holy bring powerful passive DPS? No. Does it have a big beautiful absorb ability? No. Does it bring powerful utility? Oh, well actually yeah, with Master Spell and Leap of Faith, but not so much as some other classes. Now of course, none of this is so important in heroic raiding, where DPS and damage mitigation is not so much of a big deal, and where Holy is going to get a chance to really have fun. So I'd expect the spec to be much better represented in this more commonly played content, as well as in Mythic Plus, where Holy's really reactive style might not be as baller as some other classes, but is head and shoulders above discipline at higher levels. Holy, I promise I will never underestimate you again. Now, I'll admit that of all the classes in this video, Mistweaver Monk is the one that I've been looking forward to talking about the least. Which is weird, because you know I love monks, okay? Brewmaster, Windwalker, Cadfile, load me up with that JD Misty goodness. I am down. And there's nothing wrong with Mistweaver. It's a really clever spec, which, just like other monk classes, rewards thoughtful and knowledgeable play. Its overall healing numbers are very powerful and very competitive. It's got the strongest single target heals in the game, for goodness sake. It's got the best crowd control of any healer with Leg Sweep, Paralysis, and Ring of Peace. It's got changes coming up in 8.3, which should give it 2 very different, viable styles of play. More traditional throughput with an upwelling build, or proper melee damage healing with a 66% buff to Rising Mist. Oh yeah, sorry, Blizz chickened out of that. A 33% increase, but that's still good, okay? And anyway, the duration increase is boss. In fact, Mistweaver is the only healer that's seeing really significant buffs across the board sword in Visions of N'Zoth to basically all of their important abilities. Enveloping Mist, Renewing Mist, Revival. Shut up, it's okay, alright? Revival is fine, you're just mean. Rising Sun Kick, Vivify, even Cocoon. 8.3 Mistweaver is buffer than Henry Cavill's Witcher, and that's good news. Henry Cavill is the good news, especially if you're a heroic raider or moderately high key pusher. But it's not all Henry Cavill though, Mistweavers, because we do have some bad news too. There's a reason why Mythic Raid healing spots for monks were limited in Eternal Palace, and it's not because Enveloping Mist, Renewing Mist, Revival, stop that right now, Revival is absolutely adequate. Rising Sun Kick, Vivify, or even Cocoon weren't buff enough. There's never been anything wrong with Mistweaver numbers, alright? The problem for them at the highest level is that they just don't have the group absorbs that the real S tier healers have, and they don't really have any utility beyond those CC abilities. Along with that, other classes have better cooldowns, better DPS, and all without the mana issues that Mistweavers often find themselves with. So basically, the spec has no real niche. There's very little a Mistweaver can do that some other classes can't do just a little bit better. But again, I stress this is only an issue at the absolute highest level of play. If you're not a cutting edge raider, then honestly, give a shit. Have fun laying the smackdown with your Rising Sun Kick. And also, another good thing, if you really like the color green, like if green really does it for you, honestly, Mistweaver is the only choice, and there's nothing wrong with that. No kink shaming here. I don't think you're going to shit yourself with shock if I tell you that Restoration Druid is the undisputed king of Mythic Plus. The multiple heal over time abilities that form the core of Resto's playing style is simply the best way to keep a small group alive in single healer content. And combined with their excellent utility and the total irrelevance of the global cooldown on anything they might feel like doing, if you want to push the highest level Mythic Plus keys, you're going to want to be playing Druid. And you know what? Even if you're really awesome at playing some other class, it doesn't really matter, because no group's going to take you along for high level keys unless you're a Resto Druid anyway, so you might as well, you know? In an ideal world, therefore, what many Resto players would have been hoping for in 8.3 was changes that make Druid heals a bit more competitive in top level raiding, where their lack of damage reduction and overall throughput sees them often playing second fiddle to other specs, or if we're brutally honest, third fiddle. And Druids, I am pleased to announce that Blizzard have taken your concerns on board, big time. They've put their best people on this, and in Visions of N'Zoth, Resto Druids can look forward to big changes, which, okay, may nerf them a little bit in Mythic Plus, but also nerf them a bit in raiding too. Yeah, sorry trees, but that reduction to Mastery and Sun and Moonfire obviously does nothing to help your raiding situation, and doesn't even slightly impact your position as the biggest bald dungeon hero of them all, so it's kind of hard to see what the point is, really. Anyway, probably best to forget about that and just enjoy being the top Mythic Plus dog, because actually with the Awakening affix, meaning that there's an important role for stealth classes in 8.3 dungeons, it's possible that Resto is going to be even more dominant, even with those nerfs, meaning that you can rack up more keys than, like, a really big piano or whatever. The first thing I want to say about Holy Paladin is, oh my word, this is one fun spec to play. Like, you might have heard that I quite like Discipline Priest, and I do, but honestly, a Holy Paladin spec for Glimmer of Light, getting in there with the badass melee damage healing, really is a close second for me in the pure enjoyment stakes. This is a straight up joyous spec to play, made all the more fun by the fact that if you play Holy Paladin, then you're probably going to be top of the meters as well. Because not only is Holy a complete Chernobyl scale blast, but it also does the most DPS and the most raw healing throughput of any other spec in this category. Is there nothing Holy Pally can't do? Well, you've also got Devotion Aura, which means that it has the raid-wide damage-absorbing power that it needs to take its place alongside Discipline as the must-have on a cutting-edge raid comp. So actually, the answer is no. There is nothing a Pally can't do. And yes, Glimmer of Light is getting nerfed in 8.3, because of course it is. You can't be that far ahead without the blue shell finding its way to you eventually. The trait is looking at a 12% healing nerf in Visions of N'Zoth, and a cap of 8 targets being affected, which, you know, is not nothing, except in the grand scheme of things, where it is basically actually nothing. It doesn't impact the passive damage, utility, or most importantly, damage absorption, which Holy brings to raids, so they will remain vital in Ny'alotha, and that 8-player cap isn't such a big deal in Mythic Plus, where there are only 5 people in a group. So it's likely they will continue to be the second most popular choice for that content too, and it's because of Holy Paladin's top 2 scores in all 3 of raiding, Mythic Plus, and fun that we have to award them the title of overall best healer of 8.3. Pick up a Pally and you'll be able to do any content you like, at just about any level you please, and have an awesome time doing it, even if it's not as fun as Disc. And there we have it, fam. Our rankings for the healing classes in Visions of N'alotha. The best news is that the classes are pretty well balanced at the moment, which means that for the vast majority of us, we can basically play whichever spec we like best. It really is only at the highest levels of play that those optimum picks become worthwhile, and I cannot stress that enough. Have fun. But what do you guys think? What is the most fun spec to play? Who is going to rule the Mythic Plus Roost? And what comp will bag world first in Ny'alotha? Let us know in the comments below. And thanks for joining us today for our first video of 2020. If you liked it, don't thank us. Thank our patrons who continue to make all of our work possible as we move forward into Shadowlands. Honestly, guys, thank you, because without you, there would be a whole lot less Taliesin Evitel. If you didn't like it, downvote the shit out of it. And remember, my name is Mr. GM. No, my name is Taliesin from me and Evitel. Until next time, cheerio.